The Memorial Day sale has arrived at Bell Tire, just in time for summer. With savings of up to $250 on a set of 4 tires, it's the best way to kick off road trip season. Where do you want to go, Tire Man?
Bell Tire.
Sure, but after that?
Bell Tire.
But that's where we went last summer.
Bell Tire.
I'll pack the snacks. Save up to $250 on a set of 4 tires and get 0% financing at the Memorial Day sale, May 15th through the 26th, only at
Bell Tire.
Shop BellTire.com.
It's Monday.
It's May 19th.
And the word of the day is barophobia, which means fear of gravity. Used in a sentence, people with barophobia love the Wicked soundtrack.
Sure.
Well, just the one song like everybody else.
It's
Yeah,
good.
obviously.
I feel like barophobes are just pedantic acrophobes, no?
Yeah, and I feel like acrophobes should give those gymnasts a chance.
I'm no illusions.
I'm Eli Bosnick.
I'm Heath Enright, and broadcasting delayed from America's Far Center, we are the Skepticrats.
On this week's episode, Donald Trump is Qat-hard pressed to refuse a gift.
RFK Jr. goes swimming in water that had disgusting disease-causing sewage in it even before he got in.
And the White House has a very special birthday boy coming up.
But first, the rest of the intro music.
Joining me for headlines tonight are my fellow Skepticrats, No Illusions, and Eli Bosnick. Gentlemen, happy month of May. Anything going on for the month of May?
Why, yes, Heath, it's Matreon, that time of the year when we beg you for money extra, super hard.
Please!
Like that, just like that.
All right, very exciting. And how might the interested listener join in on all the revelry of which
Why,
we
by
speak?
heading over to Matreon.com, of course. They can follow along with our new and upgrading patrons to see fun stuff at our pajama party, new stuff for the shows, and even nice stuff for us personally.
And they can participate just by adding a pledge or upping a pledge to any of our fine Patreon pages.
That's right, Heath. But there's only a few weeks left, so hurry.
That website one more time?
Matreon.com. That's Maytreon.com.
Okay. Happy May. In our lead story tonight, in Aircraft Harrier news,
Nice.
Donald Trump's entire term has been a giant string of corruption. So in order to address that, he did a bribe week just out in the open. He flew around the Middle East getting bribes.
Bribe tour.
Yeah. It started before he even left with the announcement of a nice little gift from Qatar, a $400 million luxury jet.
Aw.
And then he spent the week visiting his personal idols. That would be billionaire autocrats who don't have to deal with trifling annoyances like democracy and laws. And of course, the best ones are the royal oil oligarchs in places like Qatar and Saudi Arabia. So Trump showed up and he was like, "Oh my God, I love billionaire autocrat stuff. Samesies, so cool. Please bribe me now." And those leaders were like, fucking finally, somebody who gets it. This makes it so much easier. And they made a bunch of bribey deals that benefit, I'd say, approximately 0 average people in any of the countries involved, including ours.
Trust me, everybody, once you get a chance to ride in these beautiful jumbo jets, you're going to get it. What do you mean Delta? What's a Delta? The river thing?
Well, so the White House is saying now that he secured over $2 trillion in deals on his trip.
Nonsense.
A number that he arrived at by fucking lying. Specifically by including shit that was already announced earlier in his presidency, shit that was announced during Biden's presidency, and including additional just really large numbers that had nothing to do with any actual deal, past, present, or future. For example, $181 billion of it was an estimate that Amazon made of how much more the UAE could add to their GDP if they used Amazon services.
What?
They put that number in there. They just saw a large number of dollars related to investments and the Middle East, and they added it to their fucking total.
You could just make up any numbers and add them in. That's a dumb one. Just put whatever. It doesn't matter. So the first stop on the bribe tour was Saudi Arabia. Trump met with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh and allegedly made super sweet deals with the U.S. buying oil and Saudi Arabia investing in American biotech and weapons research. Yeah. The deal might have also included a giant purchase of Trump's meme coin, confirmed with a quick glance at a crypto screen. But there's no way of knowing because that's how crypto works. It's a giant, extremely opaque, and somehow also extremely transparent scam by Trump to get bribes. Just for context, Trump's already made about $1 billion in 4 months just from the transfer fees on the meme coin alone.
Jesus.
That's before any profit from selling, the nothing at some point. Beyond that, all we know is the vast majority of the ownership is people outside the United States.
A lot of benefits to this coin, Ahmed. Really streamlines the bribery.
Right.
No big bags full of money.
Yeah. Well, consider what a worst case scenario it really is to know that the president has been bribed for billions of dollars by foreign actors, but not know which ones. Right? We know it's not our fucking allies, right? We know it's all bad guys, but we just don't know which bad guys our president is working for.
What a fun puzzle. Yeah.
If only it came with the Venmo message, right?
Right, yeah. That's all we need.
For
leave it on public.
I was going to say, honestly, leave Pete Hegseth in office long enough, and they will be trading on Venmo.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, fuck, is that public?
I said private transaction.
So the stop in Riyadh also included an extremely rare good thing from Donald Trump. Let me finish. He just got lucky, and he broke and clocked his way into something ethical. Trump announced that we'll be lifting the sanctions on Syria that were put in place against the Assad regime before it got overthrown in December. With the sanctions in place, it was nearly impossible for anyone to invest in rebuilding that country. But now that's possible, assuming Trump wasn't lying and actually gets it done. Granted, the new leader of Syria is Ahmed al-Shara, formerly of al-Qaeda, not the best, and Trump described him as attractive and with a very strong past, which was an insane comment. And Trump cares not at all about the people of Syria, just to be clear, but removing the sanctions was definitely the right thing to do. Also, al-Shara offered to build Trump a Trump Tower in Damascus. It's probably unrelated, though.
Okay, between the luxury jet and the tower, we are now one step away from Donald Trump starting an Avengers, and I am admittedly jealous.
Yeah, it's led by Phony Stark, a.k.a. Iran Man.
All right, from there, on the bribe tour, he popped over to see Qatar, the very generous country that gave him a luxury Boeing 747, just because. Quid only, no quo at all. Also, just completely unrelated, Qatar is going to buy a whole bunch of planes from Boeing. Just a weird coincidence. Trump claims the deal is worth $200 billion, but a fact sheet from the White House said it's more like $96 billion.
Direct.
Yeah. Fact sheets don't care about your feelings. But none of that really matters because Trump was vibrating with excitement the whole time like a kid on Christmas Eve who's about to get a 747 instead of dolls and pencils because he's a patriot. And he's claiming he's going to use the gift as Air Force One at some point. He will not because that's insane.
Yeah.
At a minimum, we'd need to spend 3 years taking that whole thing apart and removing all the Pete Hegseth phones with open signal chats, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So the plane just ends up being a gift of $400 million to the Trump Presidential Library Fund.
Yeah. No, I read the cost of retrofitting it would exceed the cost of just buying a new Air Force One.
That's correct.
Which, by the way, Boeing is in the middle of constructing 2 of.
Okay.
Already doing it.
I know the library fund is actually a corrupt Trump thing, but when you said that, I was totally picturing just 2 old librarians with Filofax folders of executive orders just patiently riding to Dallas in a gold LeMay jumbo jet.
Or trying to figure out where in the Dewey Decimal System bribe jet fits,
How's your daughter?
So one other small issue, there's the whole laws thing.
Is there?
Yeah.
I
Technically,
disagree.
we have a rule against very obvious bribes from foreign nations. It's called the Emoluments Clause, and it's in the very first article of the Constitution. It says, "No person holding any office shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present or emolument of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state." So now we're watching the Republican Party try to explain how a $400 million jet given as a present is not a present, or how Qatar is not a foreign state, or how the Emir of Qatar is not a king or prince. And Emir literally means commander or prince from the Arabic. So we'll see how it goes with the laws, I guess. The person in charge of those right now is Attorney General Pamela Jo Bondi, who signed a memo saying that taking the jet is legally permissible because we don't know about any explicit conditions of the gift, so the bribe doesn't count.
Fucking what?
Boss Tweed watching from hell. It's a little broad, a little obvious for my taste, if I may say.
Mike Johnson's excuse was that, okay, it's just out in the open, so he's not lying or anything. He's just taking bribes and saying that he's taking bribes in the open.
He's got us there.
That was his argument. And just for the record about Pamela Jo, she is an expert on this matter. She used to be a lobbyist for the foreign state of Qatar.
Oh, so she knows.
Getting paid $115,000 a month.
Jesus.
Also, Trump's company is building a luxury golf resort in Qatar. Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, was a lobbyist for Qatar's embassy. Trump's FBI director, Kash Patel, worked as an intelligence consultant for Qatar's embassy. And Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, had his ownership of New York City's Park Lane Hotel purchased by Qatar's sovereign wealth fund for $623 million in 2023.
I'm sorry, Heath, but networking isn't illegal. Oh, it literally is illegal. I'm so sorry. It's actually in this case.
Hey guys, do you remember when the fact that Joe Biden's son had a position on an energy company from one of our national allies' board was the greatest scandal in the history of presidential politics?
I do remember that.
If not, don't worry, it'll come back around in a few days. I'm sure that'll all once again be an egregious act.
All right. Well, just in case I'm not selling the corruption story with enough evidence, I haven't presented that much. Here's one other detail. Following the trip to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, Trump also made a visit to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And that just happens to be the home of the investment firm that's buying $2 billion of the new stablecoin from Trump's crypto company. And every time a Republican gets a question about meme coins or stablecoins, they just haven't heard of this fancy new internet money, despite the account of everyone who ever got cornered by them at a party on the Hill. So just never stop yelling about this crypto thing. It is the biggest corruption scam in American history, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Also, it's not even a good super jet. It's like 13 years old. It went on sale in 2020 and it didn't sell, and then they gave it to Trump.
Making sense.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, Policy Genius.
Okay, and who had a date in May?
Mish.
Definitely.
All right, pay in.
It's crazy.
Oh, hello there, podcast listener. I'm Tyler.
Look at you tapping the fourth wall.
I'm not tapping the fourth wall. This is an ad.
Oh, but what? Did we just get Jello fresh? Because I want to eat a lettuce. I have not had one.
Yuck. That makes one of us.
No, I figured since they saw us doing our monthly death pool about the president, they might like to know about Policy Genius.
What's
Sarah, I will crawl into your dreams again.
Fine.
What's Policy Genius?
Policy Genius makes finding and buying life insurance simple, ensuring that your loved ones have a financial safety net that they can use to cover debts and routine expenses. You can compare quotes from top insurers and find coverage that fits your needs and your budget. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. It's an easy way to protect the people you love and feel good about the future.
So we don't have to bet on the day with Mike Johnson anymore?
Exactly.
Good, because he is cleaning up.
But Tyler, what if I get confused?
Policy Genius's licensed support team helps you get what you need fast so you can get on with your life. They answer questions, handle paperwork, and advocate for you throughout the process.
Amazing.
Go amazing indeed, Melania. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to compare free life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com.
All right, hey, while we're breaking the fourth wall, can I shout out my boo, Big Balls?
Sure.
What up, Aiden? Can't wait to lick the ring again. Right? A little secret code we use.
Not secret enough. I really don't see what this is doing for the shows.
Not everything's for the shows.
And we're back. Next up in headlines in Who Wants to Be a Shillionaire News. As we as a nation grapple with what will almost certainly be viewed by history as one of the darkest and most shameful times, at least in terms of our immigration policy, it's easy to wonder what the good people in our government are doing right now. Surely there must be someone with a soul somewhere in the ranks, and perhaps it's never been more important that the Secretary of Homeland Security step in
Kristi
and
Noem.
steer the ship. Kristi Noem, yeah. Which is
Cool.
why this week, the DHS confirmed that they are aware of a new reality show where immigrants compete for U.S. citizenship, but it is ridiculous and insulting to infer that they're directly sponsoring it.
Sure.
Directly.
Yeah, the main sponsor is Visa, and that kind of works.
Obviously.
So the show, tentatively titled The American, is produced by Rob Warsoff, creator of Duck Dynasty and Millionaire Matchmaker, and named, appropriately, for how he plans to leave the world when he dies. And according to the Daily Mail, quote, the show would see immigrants competing in challenges for the honor of fast-tracking their way to U.S. citizenship, end quote.
Okay, so in other words, it was never the caravan they were scared of. It was their refusal to sing for their supper.
Right. Okay, but if they're singing, it's got to be American DE Idol, right? Right? DE Idol? Come on.
Okay. But there's more. According to Warsoff's 35-page pitch, which it took all my human strength not to just read aloud for the entirety of our podcast this week, quote, the American would follow 12 pre-vetted contestants.
Not terrorists.
Who arrive at New York's Ellis Island aboard the Citizenship.
God.
And be greeted by a famous naturalized American who will serve as the show's host. Per the Daily Mail, the pitch suggests Colombian-born Sofia Vergara, Canadian-born Ryan Reynolds, and Ukrainian-born Mia Kunis as potential
No way
hosts.
they're doing that.
Yeah, none of those, I love this, this is in the article, none of those names are connected to the project in any official capacity.
no
End
shit.
quote.
Yeah, if Ryan Reynolds, though, if he shows up in his Deadpool outfit and mows through the producer's sword first while making with the one-liners, I will tune the fuck in.
Okay.
It's true.
Absolutely. Same for Sophia and Mila doing
But,
that.
well,
Yeah,
honestly,
any of
yes.
them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
The pitch continues. Again, quote from the article here. The contestants would then travel around the country on a train called The American and meet with Americans from different states to learn about their various lifestyles and customs. The players would then compete in cultural contests specific to each region. Suggestions in the pitch include panning for gold in San Francisco,
What?
balancing on logs in Wisconsin, building and launching a rocket at Cape Canaveral, rafting in Colorado, clam digging in Maine, assembling a Model T Ford in Detroit, and delivering mail on horseback in Kansas.
Okay, I feel like New Jersey's would just be how many parking spaces you can take up with a single car.
Okay, and you want to get the DHS a little product placement in there. Maybe kill some dogs with Kristi Noem in South
Oh, there you
Dakota.
go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Sure, yeah, no, that's a good
Do a
one.
cremation in Arkansas with Sarah Huckabee's brother.
Now, you might be
Because he
wondering...
lit a dog on fire.
He did in true. Now, you might be wondering, Eli, what happens when you lose? Great question, podcast listener. Again, quoting from the pitch here. Eliminated contestants will leave with iconically American prizes, such as $10,000 in Starbucks gift cards, 1 million American Airlines points, and a lifetime supply of 76 gasoline.
Our country
As
is
with
so
this-
shitty.
And then it says, as with the celebrities, none of those companies are officially connected to the project. In the end, the winner of the show will arrive at the steps of the U.S. Capitol building, where they'll be sworn in as an American citizen by, quote, a top American politician or judge. End
Well,
quote.
right, and then the ticking clock is whether they can make it before Trump dismantles the country entirely. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm calling it now. The winner is definitely a white South African guy.
Oh, God damn it.
Guaranteed.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. So, yeah, that's a real show that's currently being vetted by the DHS while our government kidnaps and sends people who are legally here to Salvadorian gulags. I guess what I'm saying is that if aliens could not look at our species to determine whether or not to vaporize us for the next little bit, that would be awesome.
We'd love that.
I mean, if they did, that would be fine, too.
We'd get it.
Yeah. And in Schoolhouse Rock didn't prepare me for any of this shit news. They're actually calling it the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Wait, like officially?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to focus on some other aspects of this idiotic fucking story, but the legislation that Trump hopes to be the centerpiece of his second term will, in the event that they manage to pass it in any fucking form, be called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Which is fucking 2 clicks of lick spittle below calling it the, actually, if his penis was a Mario Kart character, it would definitely be Donkey Kong Act. But like I said, the odds of it passing are getting longer by the day, and that's at least partly because the conflicting goals at the heart of it are reducing spending, cutting taxes, and balancing the fucking budget.
Oh, cool.
Right? Yeah, which is the legislative
Simple.
equivalent of deciding that you're going to be married, be a bachelor, and make a rock too heavy for God to lift. But even if the goals
Okay.
were within
Hashtag squad goals.
the circle of attainable things, the narrow majorities and competing interests of the Republican caucus would still probably be plenty to torpedo the thing. To get the cuts that would satisfy the budget hawks, they'd have to cut programs the moderate wing has already declared non-starters. But Mike Johnson, the least politically adept person to hold the top spot in the House in my lifetime, is pretty sure he can bridge the divide
Oh, yeah?
so that it can die in the Senate.
Yeah, the man who can't stop his son from looking at porn without a I also will look at that porn narc app thinks he's going to get Marjorie Taylor Greene to compromise.
Yeah, MTG and the neo-Nazi caucus blocked this bill, and literally 2 hours later, Moody's downgraded the credit rating of the entire United States of America. Because they know the giant tax cuts by, well, George W. in 2001 and Donald Trump in 2017, which are getting extended by whatever bill we pass, are obviously causing the national debt to keep rising. Take those cuts away, and the debt could have easily been shrinking this whole time. So just to be clear, if we had passed the bill, we might have had a bigger downgrade. And since all the options refuse to tax rich people, we have 2 pathways left. One, we add trillions to the debt, but get rid of Band-Aids for poor kids like MTG wants, and keep our sweet downgrade of only 1 click down. Or 2, we add trillions to the debt with no inhumane cuts as a sweet offset, and we're looking at more downgrading.
Yeah.
Those are the options.
Right. Yeah, so the latest setback for Team Trump, at least at the time of this recording, came from the House Budget Committee, where 5 GOP extremists joined Democrats in sinking a procedural vote that they needed to advance the bill out of committee. Now, this was almost certainly a theatrical, grandstanding thing by people who will ultimately get in line, but it did come right after Trump barked out an all-caps tweet in a grammar that I can only describe as crow-magnanimity, quote, "must unite behind is the only non-capitalized word, must unite behind the one big beautiful bill. Stop talking and get it done," end quote.
Stupid red queens stole off with their heads. I could totally use talk with their heads right here.
All my new airplane buddies said I should do that. I'm being nice right now.
I'm a good guy.
So the bill itself starts with a few $1 trillion in tax cuts, wildly weighted towards the top of the income bracket, of course, but it also would include Trump's campaign promises about eliminating taxes on tips and overtime wages. And to offset the debt that all of that would incur, Republicans plan to not care about national debt anymore until a Democrat is in office again.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, the tax cuts would literally expire the week of Inauguration Day in January of 2029.
Yeah, to be fair, I only care about debt when you're doing it to me is a bullseye for their boomer voting base.
Yeah, true. Now, that's not to say, though, the bill has no offsets. It does contain a few savings for the government, like $295 billion they plan to bilk from people holding student loan debt. They also plan to raid over $650 billion from climate change programs, because who needs a climate when Donald Trump is 79 years old? But most controversially, because apparently obliterating even the fig leaf of climate change mitigation strategies we currently have doesn't do it for most Americans, the bill contains over $600 billion in cuts to Medicaid, which would directly kill a fuckload of Americans. And that's what Trump wants his legacy to be: killing poor people to lower the taxes on undertaxed billionaires.
That was actually the original name for the bill, but he kept misspelling billionaires. And
Right,
like, no,
yeah,
you're
no.
going to do this in public.
Beautiful's
and-
hard enough.
That fuckload of dead people is going to be lots of Republican voters. But like, yeah, I'm sure we'll get district maps that go 6 feet under in red towns. So
Right.
it's not even going to help. It's not even a silver lining now.
Well, you know, every accusation is an admission. They're going to get dead people voting eventually. Now, of course, for the people on the party's right wing, the problem with the bill is that it isn't killing enough poor people. The 5 fiscal hawks, read fiscal vultures, that crafted this latest speed bump are demanding that the $600 billion in Medicaid cuts increase to $2 trillion and expand out to devour the SNAP program as well. That's food stamps if you're old and privileged. The cuts they're asking for would, by the estimation of the Congressional Budget Office, mean that 7.6 million Americans would lose their health insurance and 3 million would lose their SNAP benefits. Both of those groups would primarily be comprised of children. But don't worry, they're not cruel enough to just cut those programs off without warning. They want to craft it in such a way that they don't happen until Trump's out of office and presumably a Democrat is trying to clean up his mess again.
Did they consider the shit the nest bill?
Probably.
And by the way, the actual number of people losing health coverage there, it's going to be bigger. They're setting it up so a bunch of people only partially lose coverage.
Yes.
So technically they wouldn't count. And they're adding weird hoops and paperwork that people are definitely going to fuck up. So that's even more that don't show up in the estimate.
Right, and by the way, all this new paperwork would cost more than they're going to fucking save, ultimately, all the work requirement bullshit that they're talking about. Yeah. Now, even with this latest hurdle, it's still expected that the bill will reach the House floor next week, though it's still anybody's guess as to whether the GOP has enough votes to pass it. Now, like with previous House majorities, you could be pretty fucking certain that they had the numbers by the fact that they were calling the fucking vote. Right, but Mike Johnson has proven to be shockingly inept at counting for a person with a post-Sesame Street
Got a bad
education.
record. He does have a bad record.
So who the fuck even knows? What we do know, though, is that...
One neo-Nazi. Fuck.
Yeah, no,
lost again.
it's a lot more than that. But what we do know, though, is that if and when it passes, it's walking the fucking plank on its way to a Senate that has already said in no uncertain terms that they will not pass anything like the bill in its present form.
That's right, podcast listener. Once again, we find ourselves rooting for nothing. Join me in our chant.
Yep.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Okay, and just a reminder about the 2 options I was talking about earlier. There's actually an option 3. It would be taxing rich people more, obviously. Just like Donald Trump play acted as an idea a couple weeks ago. But then he publicly said, hey, GOP Congress, don't actually fucking do that. I'm clearly play acting, and I'm saying this out loud right now.
I'm lying to the stupids who
You can
voted
see
for
me winking with my eye. Yeah. So
Wink.
Now, up to this point, though, Republicans in the Senate have been fairly mild in their tone, promising to work with their colleagues in the House, emphasizing the areas where they agree, blah, blah, blah. But quite a few have come out and said straight up, hey, cuts to Medicare won't fly, nor will cuts to green energy programs or pretty much any of the other areas that they've identified to offset the trillions of dollars worth of tax cuts for rich people. And those that aren't pissed about the moderate amount of offsets are upset by the way that the bill would explode the deficit. And the ones worried the cuts are too humane seem to be the most strident holdouts.
Yeah, right now the Republican Party is playing chicken with itself, but instead of facing their car at each other, both sides are facing it at poor people.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Okay, I'm picturing Republicans and billionaires as cartoon roast chickens. Am I doing it right? Is
You
that how
are.
you say it?
Yes, you are.
doing this
You are, in
correct.
fact, doing it right.
But ultimately, hey, we have seen this show before, right? So here's my prediction. After making a big display of fighting against the more demonic spending cuts, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Josh Hawley will cave. Once the bill passes, they're going to whittle down the Medicaid cuts and the SNAP cuts so that they never actually pay a political price for it. The tax cuts for billionaires will stay in place. The tax cuts for poor people will sunset, and the social safety net will get that much weaker. Our only real hope of full collapse is that Trump will find a way to accidentally step on his toadstool of a dick again, which, to be fair, gives us 50-50 odds or so.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, we'll get downgraded again, and we'll start doing like payday loans for the U.S. government, whatever. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Speaking of needing to save some money, it's time for a word from our other sponsor this week, Quince.
Are you serious? You want to curse?
You stink. That's the curse.
Hey, guys. What's with the fracas?
Eli will not change his shirt. And
It's my
gross.
lucky shirt, and we have a live show coming up.
Eli, why is it your lucky shirt?
I don't know. It's comfortable. It has a sufficiently cute pug on the design.
I see. So what you need is Quince.
Oh, what's Quince?
He's one of the guys from the Shut Up and Sit Down YouTube
no,
channel.
not Quince. Quince. Quince has all the things you actually want to wear, like organic cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, and comfortable pants that work for everything from backyard hangs to nice dinners.
Ooh, that does sound nice.
It is. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands.
What? How do they do that?
By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury pieces without the crazy markups. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes.
Amazing and ethical? Where do I sign up?
Elevate your closet with Quince. Go to quince.com/skepticrat for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/skepticrat to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/skepticrat.
All right, guys, I'm sold.
Good. Will you change your shirt now?
Yeah, I guess so. Let me go get my shirt-changing spatula.
Why does he need it?
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know. You're right. Why did I ask that?
And we're back. Next up in headlines in Vax Don't Care About Your Feelings news.
Nice.
Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spent about 5 hours talking to Congress last week, trying to justify, well, any of the words in his job title, and he did very badly with that.
No, didn't go well.
Most of the questions forced him to defend a series of large cuts to public health programs, the resulting lack of human services, and of course, the very obvious lying he did during his Senate confirmation hearing. And he responded by, I think, running a jar of loose teeth through a coffee grinder. or he was talking. I couldn't really tell most of the time. It was one of those
Tricky. It is tricky. Yeah. Honestly, I think the voice is just a big lead up to whatever he ends up selling us, right? He's going to do one big throat clear and then tell everyone it was the vitamins or whatever. He's going to be so rich. Hello, America.
So you just, it kind of leaves you wishing that there was some kind of a congressional grilling, before his appointment where these obvious red flags could have been sorted out in some way.
That would have been great. That would have been great. So there were two big highlights for me from the parts that didn't sound like a Geiger counter making a New York City subway announcement over a broken PA. The first one started with Kennedy claiming that no current vaccines, except the ones for COVID, have been tested against a placebo, which is both wrong and incredibly stupid. Every new vaccine and every new medicine gets tested against a placebo in the experimental phases. But once we have a working miracle of science that prevents death, we don't test new variations against nothing. Because A, we already did that with the original one, and B, that would mean, for example, giving a disease to a bunch of kids and then giving half the kids saline solution to just see how it goes. But also, we do test the new variations as well, usually against an older existing vaccine that's called an active control. It's also referred to as, of course, it's not nothing, you psychopath, control. And the anti-vaxxer talking point from Kennedy, it was so stupid that a Republican had to correct him. A Republican corrected him about science. Not great. And the way it happened, though, that was great. The Senate Health Committee chairman is Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, and Cassidy had left the room right before Kennedy made that remark. But then Cassidy stormed back in and corrected him right after Kennedy said that. And Cassidy gave examples like the vaccines for measles and HPV tested against placebos.
I'm trying to take a shit, Bob. Can you pause the bullshit long enough for me to bitch out a log? Come on.
They
All right,
cannot.
But here's the part that we always have to keep in mind, right? Despite being corrected on the congressional record by an ally, he will roll out this same bullshit talking point again.
Guaranteed.
Right? It's not that he doesn't know he's wrong. It's that he refuses to know that he's wrong.
Yeah. And the other big highlight, from the parts that didn't sound like the Predator with tuberculosis, was a rare moment of truth from Kennedy. During the hearing with the House Appropriations Committee, Representative Mark Pocan asked Kennedy if he'd vaccinate his own children today. And Kennedy said, exact quote, "I don't think people should be taking medical advice from me." He's the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Have you heard about the brain worm?
Yeah. Well, speaking of medical advice, don't go swimming in shit water. That's a good one. Just top of my head. But I'm not a public health official. Kennedy, on the other hand, is. And 3 days before the congressional hearing, he went swimming with his kids and grandkids in a literal Schitt's Creek.
Little Schitt's Creek, yes, he did.
Literal Schitt's Creek. That would be Rock Creek in D.C. The National Park Service bans swimming, wading, or even slightly touching the water in Rock Creek, you or your pets, because that water is lousy with sewage runoff. Nonetheless, Kennedy took photos of the shit swimming family outing that he took and proudly posted them on Twitter, including one that shows him almost completely submerged. It's fucking gross.
Okay, I hate to argue with you, Heath, but I am pretty sure that everyone at the National Park Service is okay with RFK Jr. and his family swimming in that water. You gotta
Just lap it right up, guys. Yeah. No, I'm sure the sewage got out. I was like, oh, God, fuck, Jesus. RFK Jr.'s in here?
Oh, that guy's not vaccinated. We're
Heard about the brain
gonna get
worm?
sick. Yeah. And a big thanks to Penelope for being the first of many to send us a link to the
So many.
shit swimming story to SkepticratNews@gmail.com. When we take back power, Penelope gets to do the thing to the guy with the device, whatever that means, whatever I meant by that. We always appreciate a shit story about Bobby Deuce.
Every
is
time.
what I'm saying. The only thing that could have made the story better is if Kennedy said, don't take medical advice from me, and then Representative Pocan said, yeah, no shit, and then proceeded to enter those photos from Rock Creek into the congressional record with a very long poetic description of our Secretary of Health and Human Services just covered in shit water. That's what happened in our real reality.
And in Cruisin' for a Bruisin' news, there are a lot of things to hate about sports. They're boring, dangerous, contribute to a series of terrible problems in our nation, and, worst of all, give people a thing to talk about that isn't me. But occasionally, sports do something great, and we got one of those this week, as a pair of Texas Democrats are putting forth a resolution aimed at barring, quote, well-known curse Senator Ted Cruz from attending college playoff sporting events in the Lone Star State.
This is fantastic.
Okay, but can we bar him from attending legislative bodies first? This curse is way more impactful there.
Also, he's cursing that opera house, I'm pretty sure. but yeah, football games too. Just, cancel them from everything.
Yeah, so Harris County Democratic Party precinct chairs Charles Kuffner and Bill Kelly, quote, have come together to offer a resolution prohibiting podcaster Ted Cruz from attending college playoff games in person, given his record of personal failure, end quote. Adding again, real quote, the 9 scariest words for any college fan to hear are, I'm Ted Cruz and I'm coming to your game.
Okay, but the only words that can follow I'm Ted Cruz and not be terrifying are witness me, right?
I keep sending him spray paint. Fingers crossed.
Me too.
Yes, exactly.
Me too.
Now, personal insults to our profession aside, the sponsors of the bill do have a point. Texas college teams have a 1-8 record when the senator is present. And what, if not this, is his senatorial duty to protect the public good? I ask you.
Okay, so to be clear, at this point in history, U.S. senator is way more of a dig than podcaster. They're
It's true.
doing him
It's
a
a rare
favor.
time. It's a rare time. So you might be wondering what Cruz's office has to say in response to this. Well,
I was not.
it's the Now Times, so they actually responded, calling it a partisan stunt that wasn't worthy of news coverage.
But they responded to it.
Yeah, they did. The senator, the spokesperson said on Thursday, has, quote, been attending Texas sports games his entire life. When they win, he's there. When they lose, he's there.
Okay, listen. Whatever gets Ted Cruz back to Yankee Stadium.
Yes.
Like, we almost got the best thing ever. It was so close.
Yeah. One
Murder
last
on
thing.
the Orient Express in the entire fucking
But
stadium.
it's just Staten Island.
Yeah,
it's
right.
just
Yeah.
the island
It's
of
not
Staten.
Island.
Isn't that where it is?
No.
I wasn't paying.
Jesus.
One last thing about this story.
Heath is so fucking mad. He's not going to
Guys,
say
our
a
screen is
goddamn
shaking.
thing.
Our screen is shaking. I'm
There
hearing
will be no
microphones being
intro
ripped
tonight.
out of the
You're
wall.
just the outro. The entire outro is just going to be heavy breathing.
Yeah.
God.
Just my personal details. read
Murder on the
aloud.
4 Train Express. Fucking Christ.
Well, that's
You lived
good,
in
too.
New York City.
Not anymore, I don't.
Well, yeah, right, because you didn't know where the fucking Yankee Stadium
That's
was.
true.
They kicked you the
that's why
fuck
they
out.
kicked me out. That's true. That's what it was. It was the final straw. One last thing about this story. I learned that this is not the first time that the Cruz curse has been introduced as a political platform. During his failed bid to unseat Cruz last year, then Representative Colin Aldred released a campaign ad in which a narrator warned, sports fans across Texas are suffering from the same affliction, the Ted Cruz curse. And honestly, I get it. Like, we tried appealing to decency. We tried human nature. It's honestly worth seeing at this point if the bad guys will make your football team lose starts winning us elections.
That's so
At
much
this
better
point-
than most of
yeah.
our strategies.
Yeah. At this point, it's a lot less extreme than a lot of the things I'm willing to try. So you know
Yeah.
what? I'm all here. I'm here for it.
There you go. And finally tonight, in parading the coffers news, the American taxpayers are about to spend well over $45 million so that Donald Trump can have a fascism parade in his honor next month.
they are.
It's set to include 24 M1 Abrams tanks, 50 warplanes, over 100 other military vehicles, and more than 6,000 troops, all marching through the streets of Washington like the Red Scare nightmares of Trump's youth. On Donald Trump's birthday.
Huh.
Yeah. Now, that does coincide with the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Army, which is the official excuse, but something tells me President Bone Spurs isn't motivated by his patriotic reverence for military service.
Okay, this is terrible, but he's so fucking sad, and I enjoy that. Like, nobody wants to throw him a birthday party, obviously. So, like, Tall Tyler had to be his mom and call up the
Yes.
moms of all the U.S. military and make everyone show up at his
You're
thing.
right.
That's
what
what's
happened.
happening.
Yep.
For I'm a jolly good
So the $45 million price tag has been reported in several outlets now, consistently attributed to anonymous sources, since the Trump regime certainly isn't admitting to that number, but it's actually absurdly low when it comes to the actual cost. That is just the cost of getting all of these troops and vehicles to D.C. and then organizing all the other bullshit festivities dear leader demands. That does not include the cost of cleanup or repairing the roads that you just ran 150 military vehicles down to a piece of fucking tyrant. And if you're wondering how well thought out this is, there are also reports that the 6,600 soldiers involved are going to be housed in disused government buildings that they're going to just put a bunch of cots in. And clearly knowing how slapdash and shitty that sounds, the Pentagon actually felt the need to clarify that, quote, they will be provided 3 daily meals and a stipend, end quote.
They're going to get a per diem, a Starbucks card.
No, it's okay. Trump's going to executive order that the Third Amendment isn't real either, and then everyone in D.C.
There you go.
can
Yeah.
just put them up while the Supreme Court considers
Yeah,
it.
there you
As
go.
long as we're getting rid of amendments, yeah, why not? We did
Now-
14. We'll do 3.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of pushback against this unprecedented display of fascism, most notably from the D.C. government, which is no doubt going to be on the hook for most of the damage that the parade leaves in its wake, when you discount the long-term damage to the tenuous threads holding democracy together done by parading the apparatus of war through the nation's capital in a threatening show of internal force by a petty and vengeful leader. But there's also been pushback in Congress. Tennessee Democratic Representative Steve Cohen introduced a bill in April that would have barred the spending of federal money on a military parade, quote, primarily intended to celebrate the birthday, personal milestones, or private interests of any individual, including President Donald J. Trump, end quote.
Hey, Big Balls, I think I found a line item you might want to cut from the budget. It says, tanks that go...
No, of course, the administration has objected to the implication this is all about Trump's ego. It's also about the troops. For example, Secretary of Drunken Push-Up Contests Pete Hegseth said that the parade was intended to honor the sacrifice of American troops who helped secure the country's independence, adding, quote, dead soldiers can't get mad, end quote. And to be clear, his actual quote isn't less stupid, it's just less funny. Here's what the man in charge of our goddamn fucking military actually said, quote, there are a lot of vapid things to celebrate, plenty of reality shows and garbage music and stuff on Netflix. How about we hold up our special operations community? How about we recognize the Army and the Marine Corps, end quote.
Boozy brunch, motherfuckers. Be a patriot. USA.
Kiss these days. And before I wrap up this story, I want to add a special hat tip to the New York Times writers Tim Balk and Helene Cooper for the spectacular nugget of shade that they closed their piece on this story with. They point out that while military parades are rare in the United States, they're common in other countries. And the list of examples they offer is, in its entirety, France, China, and North Korea.
Ah, there it is.
All right, well, here's the good news. That microphone we hid as a bag of peanuts in a Qatari jet is still operational. So we actually have some footage of the behind-the-scenes planning. Let's roll that tape.
Sir, you have to let me cut some of these costs.
Tyler, you are ruining my birthday right now.
The birthday of the Army, sir. We have been over this.
Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Excuse me. Is there a fucking birthday boy in here?
Hey, Big Pete, Pete Hegseth. That's what I'm talking about. How you doing, big guy?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Hey, question. Is the Netherlands a real country?
Yes.
Ah, fuck. Son of a tomato. I should have hung up on him. I thought someone was just pranking.
Right.
I get it. I've been there.
Can we help you, Pete?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, plan's amazing. It's fucking kick-ass. Love it. Still gonna monster trucks, though. Did you guys know our Army has fucking 0 monster trucks? They had none.
That's crazy to me.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, it's fixed. Also, we could find a place for the gay ones. The fly force. What is it?
The Air Force.
Yeah, they want to like do a thing too.
Yeah, man, we'll find a place for them. Is there anything that you can do maybe to cut down these costs though? Because as it is, this is going to be way too ostentatious.
Like a big bird?
No, that's ostrich, man.
Okay, well you said it. You said it just
No.
now. But no, I can't cut the costs. But I did. Here's the thing. Good news. I did bring the official balloons. Ta-da, balloons.
Oh, balloons.
Pete, damn it. These say happy birthday DT.
DT, exactly.
No, this is supposed to officially be for the 250th birthday of the Army, guys. The U.S. Army.
Yeah. It stands for happy birthday to the Army.
Sounds great to
Army.
me. Yeah, I love that.
Nice.
I honestly don't know if you just made that up or if that's what you actually intended.
Does it really fucking matter?
No, I guess it doesn't.
Great. Hey, before I go, when are you blowing in my car? I gotta go home.
Yeah,
blow in my car.
Pete, I'll come blow in your car.
Nice. And on that note, we're gonna close it out. Thanks to No Illusions. Thanks to Eli
You're welcome.
Bosnick. And thanks to all the listeners who liked us and followed us on all the various internets. Please keep doing that. Please keep listening, and please keep telling your friends. And if you find the naive stupidity of our giving away a free show business model to be oddly charming, you can send us gifts of money at patreon.com/Skepticrat, especially helpful here during Matreon. Yo!
Oh.
Just like all those generous new donors, they will be complimented next time around. And whether or not you're feeling financially benevolent like those fine people, if you enjoyed our brand of whimsy and you'd like to hear more dick jokes free of charge, check out our brother and sister shows, The Scathing Atheist, GodAwfulMovies, D&D Minus, and Citation Needed. Available in all the podcast places. We just have one last thing. Let's compliment that penis. Special thanks to Ryan Slotnick of Evil Giraffes on Mars. He is the creator of the virtuosic musical stylings you heard today, which were used with permission. You should definitely check them out using the links we'll provide or by Googling the only band called Evil Giraffes on Mars. Until next time, catchphrase sign off.
Super bat, am I right? White jets fuck like this. What's policy genius?
Policy Genius makes finding and buying life insurance.
The preceding podcast was a production of Puzzle and the Thunderstorm LLC, copyright 2025, all rights reserved.